Banana be live. For one, I appreciate you, man. You know, like the older you get, you start to realize you want a couple things, man. You want peace in life and good relationships, man. So this is you setting off season 4 of the podcast, right? But like I said a minute ago, this is actually you being the genesis, really episode 1 of the Move by the Message vision, man. With that being said, I want to say thank you. And let's go ahead and start the show, man.
Yo, I'm grateful for you. Like that's the thing about it. Like I just have to return all of that gratitude right back to you.
Appreciate that, man.
In order for this to even be created, whether or not it's the start of a genesis, I feel like it's a genesis of what you've been creating and then the impact that it leads. So I think it's really important to know about how purposeful your intention is when you've been creating like anything.
Right.
And then also it leading you into your impact, which is all shown by your integrity. So like
Appreciate
I really
that, man.
appreciate that, yo. Like,
Namaste.
for
Say
real.
that.
I
Appreciate
could
that.
not be appreciative of that anymore. Like, and like you
Appreciate
said,
that.
genuine relationships too. Like
100%.
You can tell when it's something that's like a very long lasting.
Right.
Like,
100%, man.
Yeah.
Likewise. So your name and where you're from. 2, 1.
Peace. My name is Sheen Anthony, and I'm from North Philadelphia.
Next, Sheen, can you tell us what your practice is? Like, what is the thing that you do for your mind, body, and spirit?
I truly am just a multi-dimensional creative being. And what I mean by that is I continue to affirm myself that there's nothing that I cannot do, there's nothing I cannot be, there's nothing I cannot have. So I see everything as a meditation. Everything that's in my practice currently is sound healing, painting, man. I'm gonna have to like really collect myself when I be thinking about all these things that I do. I'm just like doing things that help other people, and as well as myself heal.
So just tell us, if you can, just tell us a little bit about your earliest memories of when you decided to become someone who's, you know, what they would call aware or conscious or, you know, connecting with higher energies and things like that. What were those movies or what was the song or who was the person or people or group that sort of inspired you to become someone who operates at a higher frequency? What were like some of those memories?
So something that I've always watched as a child was Harry Potter. Me and my family used to always like go to the movies and watch all of them, just back to back, to the point where I started buying the games and was really immersed in this reality of like wizardry. And I think what it did for me was reflect Harry Potter off of myself, being a person who felt locked into a reality that's not really all there is. You kind of just see one perspective. You know, he was like living in a closet. He had his own little box. His family wasn't really supportive of him. They knew who he was, but did not want him to know who he was. So he had to go on that journey of finding himself. And I really see that reflection of myself. Like, and even with him going to find himself, the divine gave out like synchronicities of magic within him that he naturally had. So in the beginning, it would be like when he went to the zoo and then the snake came out, you know, naturally. It was like he realized he had this ability and his family knew he had this ability, but he also didn't know what to think of it. So I think I apply that to myself with being consciously aware of the magic that I hold within moving forward. And these practices has helped me acknowledge my power. And me helping other people, I think one of the things that really helped me realize that I had this power was just placing my hands on people, just noticing that one of my love languages could be sense of touch, but not everyone is comfortable with sense of touch. So when I realized that when I'm comfortable with someone and they're comfortable with me, I can be able to move energy around to help them. And I didn't know it was real until hearing my friend's testimonial. So that was really something that helped me realize, like, oh, okay, I do have some type of abilities from the divine that's granted for me to help people move their energy to help them in their reality right now.
I do jujitsu, kickboxing sometimes, and things like that, which is a valuable skill set. Again, strength and conditioning coach. I believe exercise, moving your body is important, even for a spiritual life, right? To express yourself physically, I don't think that should be forgotten, right? Which a lot of people do forget, or it becomes like something they'll get around to if they ever get around to it, like taking the time to exercise, stuff like that. But I think it keeps you sane if you move your body. But I do think there's a lot of power in touch and things like that, which like you just mentioned, right? Do you know a scenario when you sort of became aware of that? Sometimes it's a negative experience that you notice as a kid, like you touch someone and they kind of like backed away or something like that. Do you remember when you sort of become aware of the power of touch and how that can be healing or how that can be, you know?
Wow. One thing I realized is that a lot of like healers have a huge amount of sacred energy. So we all know that sex is a sacred energy exchange, and I think the way that we've been using our sacred energy depicts that sense of touch on where it's coming from. Because some of us can have the traumatic experience with sense of touch, like you mentioned, and which is where you don't feel like you want to be touched anymore, at least in that way. Or you may feel a genuine love for sense of touch, like hugging, like cuddles and stuff like that. For me personally, I see both sides. Like I personally have had the traumatic experience with sense of touch, which is one of the reasons why I didn't like to be touched. So coming around this ability to realize, oh, I have the ability to help people maneuver their energy and transmute through my hands, but I don't even feel comfortable allowing a lot of people to touch me. So how am I gaining this comfortability now to touch other people? I had to really like face the reality of I'm in the place of showing genuine value when it comes to exchanging this energy, because I didn't like the way that I was previously touched as a child. So now I'm like, okay, I can honor my sacred energy in this way where it's genuine, it's professional, it's allowing people to affirm themselves throughout this reality. But I really had to embrace both sides of it. Like there's some people who just don't like to be touched, and you just have to accept that. But if you're coming from a place where it's healing, you're coming from the intention, and they know the invocation is healing, it could be helpful if they allow it to be.
I realize that with creatives or great athletes or something like that, sometimes, or anybody that gets great at anything, not saying this necessarily has to happen, but sometimes you pour into something because you sort of, I don't want to say running away from something, but there's some like void or unresolved things that you can sort of forget about by pouring into painting or basketball or whatever great thing. Because they say a lot of great athletes or artists are like a little angry about things, right? The way they see life and how they're not sad. Not that they're walking around angry, but there's a little bit of like angst about them for whatever reason. Sometimes it's because of something that happened in their childhood. So I'm not asking you to dive into that unless you wanted to, but what I'm asking you is, do you think that because of your past, not even just whatever situation you mentioned, but because of that and or other things, do you think that's one of the reasons why like you found healing and actually becoming more spiritual and sort of like getting past this one layer of life and frequency and sort of getting deeper into life or frequency so you could sort of heal from whatever traumas or things you experienced in the past?
The simple answer is yes. The in-depth answer is that I definitely think as like healers, artists, just people in general, we're always going to experience some amount of pain. But I do realize more and more that that's how I reclaim my power. I reclaim my power through the pain, but this allows me to actually see my potential, and having like-minded people actually witness your potential too, show it back to you, so that way you can be able to affirm yourself on your purpose. So I'm constantly going through cycles of noticing that we're going to experience pain, which is going to lead us to reclaiming our power, which leads us to seeing our potential and then affirming our purpose. Once again, it just keeps coming back around. Once I've accepted that the traumatic situations that I've experienced, whether that was sexual trauma or family, just like the way the family issues can be projected onto you, and then it gives you a different perspective on life. I think that's why you mentioned like the anger, stuff like that too, because there is a lot of different emotions, but artistry and creativity helps you express it differently, where you can give someone a different perspective or give yourself a perspective to heal from it. So I look at a lot of different things as my meditation because I'm writing myself out of it. If I'm doing poetry or spoken word, I'm writing myself out of a situation, especially if I'm rapping as well. I'm just transmuting the energy, just getting it out a different way. It might be a certain emotion that needs to be focused on so I can feel it to release it. But when it comes to like sound healing, I'm thinking about the intention to open my heart and then be able to give a different frequency to myself and others. So there's a lot of spaces that I've been in where I've just been very vulnerable because it allows the next person to be vulnerable. And I think that's what helps the healing cycle continue. I can allow myself to sit in my pain for a moment to release it, be vulnerable, so that way someone else can be able to open and affirm themselves throughout what they're experiencing too, because we all have to go through it.
100%. I actually, I remember there was a point in my life a few years ago where I didn't say this verbally, but I sort of accepted this subconscious thought that I was like, I think in my life I want to, or I need to be some sort of artist, right? Where you put out works of filtered life, if that makes sense. Because like in my life, I haven't experienced a lot of trauma, like big trauma. So for example, like you already know, growing up in the hood, not every hood, but like there's like small traumas that you don't even know you're in,
Right?
Because it's just like how life is. So like gunshots going off in the morning, you duck down, and then like you wait 10 minutes and then you walk to school. Like that's traumatic, right? But like these are things that just like it was almost like normal life, right? Unfortunately, right? But you get a little bit older, you live a little bit more life, then things start to happen, right? Because I just turned 41 in November, right?
What?
Right, yeah, you know what I mean? So you live, so
You timeless.
I appreciate it, man. But you start, like, things start to, not that, like, I've experienced a lot of trauma, but things start to happen, right? You see people pass away. I told you about my buddy Art, who helped me start my photography career. He passed away, right? You start to see these things. So I think there was a time in my life when I was like, I need to be an artist, because that is a part of life. And I can't even say these things are good or bad, meaning like death, for example. I can't even be like, no, death is bad, because it's a part of the process. These plants are going to die. Like everything that's alive will the energy will transition or recycle, or however look at it. But I felt like I wanted to be an artist of some sort. So when these things happen, which we can't escape them, I have an outlet to filter that experience. So instead of me being like an attorney or I'm an accountant, and something bad happens, now I have no way to sort of express that feeling of grief or happiness and things like that. So I think that's one of the reasons why like I want to continue to put out like artwork and stuff like that. But I say that to say, when I met you, the first time I saw you was at a traumatic, even the event wasn't traumatic, but like it was our mutual friend's mom's memorial. That's where I met you, right? And you did your I guess they call it sound healing or whatever. Can you tell me what is sound healing? Like if you know sort of what the benefits are, like what it affects and stuff like that, and like how you got into that, and what are like a few of the benefits of sound healing? How does that work energetically or biologically or neurologically, things like that?
Well, it's very interesting because a lot of the things that I've been doing is very intuitive. So when I came across sound healing, I didn't really know the full like biological effects from it, or like the healing from it. I only could really speak from the effects that I personally have had and the other people around me who have experienced it have had. So a lot of the results that people tell me is that they received just the ability to release. If they was holding something within their heart, they really would feel more comfortable to release what that emotion is and actually take themselves into a meditation to break it down, to admit it, to acknowledge it, and then to affirm afterwards. Because most of the time when I'm doing sound healing, I like to be affirmational. Whether it's a meditation that's coming with it, I really like to just be able to help people affirm themselves even after releasing their pain. So sound healing is literally, I just bring my crystal bowls. It's a 432 hertz, and it's the love frequency. I think a lot of times people have heard that the frequency of music has changed because it was like a 440 hertz now, but it originally was the source of love, the love frequency of 432. And you'll see a whole bunch of frequencies on what they vibrate at and what they help you with. But I feel as though that each one is a chakra. So each one, a chakra will be the energy portals within our body. People see them as like orbs of light or just energy cycles. So I feel like a lot of the times, like we were talking about earlier with the trauma and things that we have experienced on this life, they could affect certain chakras. And the sound bowls that I play can help you just open up on that energy, just to clear out that frequency, clear out that negativity. And when you set the intention with it, you can just release the things that do not serve you. That's really what I see. I just helped a lot of people and myself really just release, and that's what I've needed the most out of this healing.
If you listen to music when you meditate, like what are things that you play, like a band or a group that you play to sort of get you in that vibe? What are you listening to, man? Give us some good tunes if you can.
I'm gonna say I listen to the God Within.
Is that you mean like real God Within, or that's music?
This is the real God Within.
Okay. I'm like, right, okay.
Music.
Right.
No, the real God Within. I think it's not too many songs. I like listening to artists that I know, like in Philly. So like I'll put on like, I don't know, maybe like Imani, Just Be.
Okay.
I'll put on maybe like Suzanne Christine. Who else? There's like a lot of great artists in Blue Word, Neptune 21. There's a lot of great artists. Oh, Miles. Like, there's a lot of great artists that's like in Philly that has their music on these streaming services. And so if I really go there deliberately, like on YouTube, I'll look up something like that. But like you said, in hints of like sound healing,
Or not necessarily sound healing, but like for example, when I'm about to meditate, sometimes I'll put opera on as ambient sound or whatever. You know what I mean? Or like if I'm just chilling, having tea, wanting to journal, I may put on some like Portishead or something like that,
wow.
right? So like, what do you listen to? Because you may have already answered, but like, what do you listen to when you just want to have?
I would have said like Floetry.
Okay, right, okay.
That's like some neo soul. I'm a neo soul baby. So if I'm listening to music and like how you just talked about with frequency, like I really want to go with frequencies of meaningful like music. Or there's just like a lot of music that can be more intentional. So like Londrell, who else? There's just like a lot of, there's an artist that create. What's her name? Tony Jones. She got music that's like affirmational too. So they have like a certain vibe that frequency is an affirmation, and like those affirmations will help my mindset as well. I'm not thinking about the frequencies of certain music that's just talking about the negativity in the environment. I'm really focusing on the music that has an intensity of an impact to my life or towards my purpose. So those would be like some of the artists. And then neo soul is just like a flow because I'm just like nice music, nice singing, just a vibe.
That's what's up. I mean, because you're 25, so it's not necessarily like your era. You know what I mean? But nah, I think that's dope when like
Because of my mom.
younger cats can appreciate good music, like from the past. You know,
You
so
gotta
to
get some
speak,
jelly
like.
from Philly.
Yeah.
How can I not? I'm taking my freedom.
Exactly.
Like I cannot. Like it got affirmations in it. Like
Exactly. Well, let me ask you this then. So, like, do you have a meditative practice or like an affirmation practice, like where you sit down and there's a process that you go through?
yes and no. Like it's like I do have a practice, but that is only when I'm in the moment. Like I said, like as a multidimensional creative being, there's like a lot of things that I do. So like I could choose to be painting and be like, all right, I'm going to transmute this energy that I'm going through, or I could choose to just write because I need to release. But certain attributes of my creativity is my meditation for that moment. But like if I'm really like getting into the zone, I really would just speak my affirmations out loud. And there's a lot of songs that I have created with my soulkin. soaking is like my divine connections, like you, divine connections with people that you could tell like it's just like a very long lasting relationship because of the genuine value that holds it together. But I definitely have made songs with them who I had to really pull that song out in a moment of me releasing or transmuting some energy that was harming me or just did not serve me. So I would just have to rap the song out loud, like rap their verse and my own, like just because it's just so affirmational, it's intentional about why we created it that will become my meditation in a moment too.
There's many ways to meditate. Like there's many
Yeah.
techniques, but even in those techniques, I always say take creative license. Like it doesn't have to be like, well, no, this is how you do transcendental, or this is how you do. Like, yeah, they have step 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to play some music while you did that, or like you just said, like you may paint and then decide to do something, I think that's dope. Like take creative license in how you connect to that, like that energy, stuff like that. Let me ask you this. I'm brand new. I never meditated before, right? This is the scenario. I never meditated before. Can you tell me, right, in like a concise way, if I'm new to meditation and I need to meditate, I'm going through something, right? Can you take myself, the viewers, the audience, through a process of like how to meditate? Like almost as if like, I don't know if you feel comfortable, but like, can you take us through meditation for like a couple of minutes right now?
Okay. Well, firstly, I would say meditation is anything that brings you peace and clarity. So I guess the way I would take people through a meditation, if I had my sound bowls, it would be way easier.
I was going to tell you, too. I'm dumb for that. I literally woke up yesterday, was like, yo, tell them to bring the sound bowls.
It would have
And I
been difficult.
completely
It would
forgot.
low key
Oh,
though.
bringing them Johns?
For today.
You ain't.
Based
You'll
off
be
of
stuck
the
to your hands. Like,
circumstances and the environment.
Right. That's
It would have been just a little bit. I still could have been able to do it though.
Yeah.
But I feel like a meditation would be anything that brings you peace and clarity, and that could be. It could be It could be writing, painting, dancing, like singing. There's just so many things. But once you pick an avenue, and if it is just sitting in peace and honoring your silence, the reason why you will honor your silence is to listen to your body, listen to your intuition, and listen to the God or the goddess within. And what I mean by that is the intuitive voice that tells you that all is well, that everything is happening for your higher good, that everything is in your purpose and in your favor. And I feel like another way we would do that is vibration. Even though I don't have my sound bowls, you are a sound bowl. That's the key part. I feel like all of us are sound bowls. All of us are radiating or resonating frequency, especially when we speak. So I feel as though that you can literally simply take a deep breath through your nose, exhale through your mouth just to get your first grounded breath, and release an Om. As we know that the Om is, you said like not this the word of God, but Om is like the word of God, because it's like I guess it was the first frequency, first grounding frequency. So yeah, I would do a deep breath. And on your next inhale, exhale the exhale. And typically what this does for me personally is ground myself into my energy, into my vessel. One thing that I help myself acknowledge is that I'm borrowing this body is borrowing this mind, and I'm allowing my spirit to flow. And within a meditation, you also want to speak affirmations. The first thing would be admitting your pain, and then acknowledging your potential to grow towards learning your power. And then you'll affirm yourself. So as I repeat these affirmations, you want to repeat them back to yourself aloud. I am safe. I am grounded. I trust the process of life. I am creative. I am nurtured. I am nurturing. I am emotionally expressive. I am connected. I trust my intuition. I trust my willpower. I am loved. I am loving. I am compassionate. I am eloquent. I am authentic. I am honest. I can manifest my vision. I am divinely guided. I am divinely connected. I am divinely protected. I am well. Ashe. Yeah.
Ashe, that was fire, man. Keep it a buck with you. I was doing that with you, man. I really think, not that I think I know this, but like, again, thanks again for doing this, man. Because I think when people watch these episodes, man, these aren't just going to be episodes to like kill time. I think these episodes are going to heal people. So like when you did that first like I was like, I don't want him if you stop, it'd have been cool. Like, all right, next question. But I was like, I want you to keep rolling because even that even though I'm here, but like that's a frequency, man. And like I felt that, right? You just doing the and I kind of felt like, I mean, you've been relaxed the whole time, but I feel like after you got that out, it was kind of like not that you became Sheen, but it was like, you know what I mean?
I felt it.
It was like, you're right. And I was like, so when I was like, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna let him say next word. So I'm glad you took us through that because I think that part right there is gonna be powerful. Like somebody's gonna watch that, go through that, and become better for that day or heal for that day or like have temporary relief, man. So thanks for that. That's that short practice, man.
Yo, thank you, because I definitely felt it too. I was like, I'm back.
Right. Like roll with it, man. And
Wow.
that was awesome, man. That was awesome.
I'm glad you asked that question because I needed it too, obviously.
What sort of like, so yeah, what do you think that is, man? Like, well, let me ask you this. Cause you, like you just said, you just did that. That was physical, meaning even though we're talking about spiritual and frequency and stuff like that, you had to do that through your body. And by doing that, that's why I think exercise is so vital. Any kind of exercise is vital to you sort of getting out of your own way. Because sometimes we can be so much in here where it's like the depression, the anxiety, the fear. But when you exercise and you sweat and you breathe and you grunt, you sort of have this other perspective of like, oh, I can do this, or like, I'm not as fragile as I may have like been imagining and things like that. So like you said, like you just did, when you it was like, all right, like I'm gonna step up and do my thing. People need this, right? So like, is there any sort of physical meditation that you have done, that you do, that you can share with us? Again, not saying you have to have been consistent with, because we all have our valleys and peaks, ebbs and flows. But like, what's the physical thing you do or have done to help you get out of your own way, or sort of just realize, even if just temporarily, that like I'm bigger than my limiting beliefs or like limiting thoughts and stuff like that? Like, what's your exercise that you have done or do, if any?
Read. Definitely read, being mindful of what I'm reading. So one of those books that I would highly recommend. Sir would actually agree with me. The 4 Agreements. If y'all haven't read the 4 Agreements, I would definitely recommend that. And just to break them down, if you don't know, the first one would be don't take things personally. The second one would be don't make assumptions. The third one would be impeccable with your word. And the fourth one would be do your absolute best. And those agreements changed my life. I literally just went into a Barnes & Nobles, was just trying to charge my phone, but I randomly went over to the self-help section at the Barnes & Nobles and just reached out and grabbed a book. And the first book that was there was the 4 Agreements. And just by reading the first introduction leading into the first chapter, like you said, like we all got our ebbs and flows. So one of the things that I had my ebb and flow about was reading. And it's just because it's not that we don't like to read. It's just that what you're reading does not connect with your spirit. It's just, and if it doesn't connect with your spirit, you're not going to feel guided to continue to read it. Or you might have just had to get something out of the book that you read, and then that's it, and then you take a moment and come back to it. But I feel like that was the first book that when I read that first introduction led me to the first chapter, and I was like, I was going through so many emotions in the Barnes and Nobles. I was angry because I was like, wow, this is how the world is. But then I was sad because I was like, the book understands me. Like I was going through, and I was like, wow, like this is actually like something that's helping me towards my journey. So I would definitely recommend like reading anything that helps you give your mind clarity, because there's just a lot of things in this mind. And as I said earlier, that I'm recognizing that as a spirit, I'm borrowing this body, I'm borrowing this mind. So they have their own constructs with them, but they're all in one. So I just have to acknowledge how I can help maneuver everything working together in unison.
Are there any other books that you've read that you would recommend? Or, because we live in, the digital age, if there's not a book, who inspires you? Meaning, like, what podcast or what YouTube video, like what who are your teachers?
Wow. So to answer the first question, yes, The Four Agreements is the book that I would recommend to everybody, to every single person. And if I meet you now or when I'm turning over and transitioning, that's still gonna be the same book, because that John just, the principles of it follow in so many aspects of our life. Like, I don't know if I should go into it a little more, but like the don't take things personally really helped me, because I just had to realize that like when people project certain things onto you, it's just a reflection of themselves. So it's not something I really need to take personally, because they're experiencing something in their life that they may not know how to communicate. And because of that communication that's directed towards me, it seemed like it's about me, but it's not about me. It's about them. So that helped me detach. Don't make assumptions, because I don't need to create an illusion that's not there. Like, fear is an assumption, because it's false evidence appearing real. So the way I would conquer it is face everything and rise. I'm facing it because I'm facing the illusion. That is what I'm telling myself. I'm assuming something that I didn't actually get the answer to. And then being impeccable with my word, that led me to become who I am today, because I'm very honest, I'm very transparent, I'm very vulnerable. So I can't help but speak my truth. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to defend. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to protect. And when I'm thinking about who I am as a being, I'm allowing someone else to be just as open too. So I'm being impeccable with my word, so I can follow what I'm putting out into the world. Like if I say I'm going to be somewhere, or if I show an event, I'm not just showing the event to promote the event. I'm showing the space because I know it's a safe space for healing, and I'm going to be there. I'm not going to show nothing that I'm not going to be at. Doing your absolute best, because that's all we can do. Like what that video Mariah Carey said, I'm gonna do the best for what I got. Like, like I think that's the energy we need to keep, because you, like when we're in a capacity of love, you're loving for how you can love right now. And when you're doing your best for what you have to do right now. So that's the definitely the reason why I would recommend that book. And then there was a follow-up question you asked.
It was basically like who are your teachers, whether like in person, online?
Okay, there's a few. A person that, let me just start here, because there's like people who I have not met that have inspired me, or at least that keep me in my practice every now and then. One of them will be Monica Bay. She does like meditation. She teaches us mudras through Instagram Live. But I only got her videos from, I call her my twin, Iman, and she sends me her live every now and then, and I just be like, wow, it's just keeping me in tune at the same timing, because I call her my twin because we born on the same birthday. But it's like, it's a reminder from my soulkin. So the people that consistently inspire me is my soulkin. The people that's like around my personal circle. Some of those people would be like Mar, Deja. We all work together with Expressive Illustrations. We're a nonprofit that just like help people within like literally healing throughout all forms of expression, which is literally what we all naturally do. So like those are it was a pivotal point of my journey. I didn't realize how deep the connection was, like how we talked about before. Like you can tell the difference if something is long lasting or not. But because I was really like just going with the flow of everything, I didn't realize how healing it was for me, how inspired I was. I was inspired by Mara because she just helped so many people within showing their art and healing, like helping children just release and give them safe spaces to just be and speak about the things that they're going through. And then Deja, like I was inspired literally by the art that she was creating and also by her helping people do like readings and just like tuning into your magic. And it was helping me realize that like, oh, this is real. Like going back to what I said about the Harry Potters, like you see so many things projected about magic on TV and movies that it almost desensitizes your mind that like this magic is real. Like it may not be a magic wand, but it definitely is like the power in my hands. If I'm electromagnetic vessel, then I do have the power to attract just by the vibration that I'm putting out. So yeah, my soul can really inspire me just because I focused on an intentional energy to vibrate within myself, which actually attracted genuine people because by me being genuine.
That's dope, man. Can you tell us about like what you were just talking about, the organization and what you just saw? Is that what's it called?
Oh, expressive illustrations.
Yeah, are you able to tell us a little bit about that and what y'all do?
Yeah, we do so much. Right now, we was focused on art therapy, sound healing. We've done grief healing circles for adults that were identified as survivors because they've all had family, sons and daughters who have been murdered. So we have done like a lot of sound healing circles and healing circles in general. So I believe Deja and Mar have done like woman empowerment healing circles. We have done the grief healing circle. So we do what we feel called to do. Recently, we just done the Show the F Up event. That was just a nice event for ecstatic dance, for inner child healing. Just a space where you could just be. Like I think a lot of times we don't have spaces where we could just be within and just like accept all of your flows, come as you are. And there was a lot of people who received healing at that time. So yeah, we just do what we feel called to do as long as it's healing and helping you heal through your creative expression.
As a creative, you have your art can be like your baby.
Yeah.
And of course, your baby
It
is a
literally
toddler,
is.
and then it's whatever the next stage is. I don't know, adolescent or whatever, teenager, right? Whatever. But so even my brand has had different meanings, different catchphrases and stuff like that. But like one of the things, which I still do believe this, but as far as our community, like our people. So one of my phrases was, the better we take care of ourselves, the better we can take care of ourselves. You know what I mean? Meaning like there's, how I break it down is like as a community to my black people, similar to a military, everyone in the military is not supposed to be a general, a sergeant, a lieutenant. You play your role, right? And that military as a whole becomes an unstoppable force. So I feel like in our community, you need to be the best soldier you can, so to speak. Damir and I had this conversation. It's like, whatever you are, whatever you're good at, whether it's media, healing, personal training, diet, finances, entrepreneurship, combat, martial arts, as a community, we all need to be the best soldier we can be so that we can form and heal ourselves and move forward as a community. So when you say stuff like that, I love that and I connect with that, and that's sort of what I meant by like the better we take care of ourselves, the better we can take care of ourselves. So me, as what's the skill sets that I have? Strength and conditioning coach, personal trainer, eating healthy, exercising, meditating, and media. So my brand is actually me doing that, me being the best soldier I can be for my community. Because my community needs healing. Everything that you just said your organization does, we need that.
Wow.
So if we get on, imagine we get on that frequency, imagine what we'll be able to do. And we already able to. We already are phenomenal and able to do so many things, and that's through trauma. So imagine when we heal from the trauma, and it's like that's not even not a stepping stone, but like a roadblock anymore. So like I appreciate people from my community doing things like that. Not even saying you're just doing it for the community, but the fact that the community is going to connect with that, because representation is important. We need to see people that look like us doing things that'll influence us. So like I just want to applaud you for having that organization and building that being your baby, whatever. But like that to me, that's you being a soldier, man, and being the best soldier, whatever that is, general. I don't know all like the factions or whatever, but like I appreciate that you are being a soldier, man.
I appreciate you because what you just said is literally like if art, wellness, and fitness had a baby. It's like it's you bringing all forms of creativity into one and still having the intention be impactful. Like I think the reason why we call all this art a child is because it's like it's gonna grow with someone. Like when we create art, when I sell it, it's not really me focusing on me selling it. I'm thinking about the energy of that's going to stay with that person. Like it's always going to be in their home. They're always going to see it. Like what are they going to be reminded of when they see this piece, And I think when you create even like intentional conversations like these, it's just like there's so many people that are going to either receive these messages that it's going to be leading them on their purpose. Like leading them to finding themselves or deeper part of themselves or questioning themselves, and even questioning yourself is like asking a God and the goddess within and then waiting for the answer, being patient to receive the answer. So I think you really like influence and spark a lot of those like conversations in a lot of people. So I appreciate you.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
I am free. I am free to be me. Only identifying with who I decide to be, 'cause I be freedom, ringing against my ears. High-pitched tones vibrating, signifying my purpose is here, affirming my soul's path. These past 30 days, I've been learning more about myself. I'm manifesting abundance, overstanding my wealth. Currency is a current flow of energy. I am an open vessel of love and light, the true inner me. 'Cause my energy could never be destroyed without a fight. So I be pride without ego. I'm standing in my purpose, grounded with no placebo. Not identifying as a stereotype because that type will create an image of an average Negro. So I got you. I'm still here. That's me speaking to my inner child, spotlighting his greatness. Affirming I see you growing, what you're going through, 'cause I'm here with you, divinely guiding you. There is power within pain. I be lashes across the ass, tough lessons of physicality making trauma last. I got smacked, whooped into someone else's shape, 'cause I didn't form in what they wanted me to be. I had to stretch, break out of the box of perceptions, an unfortunate reflection that is not of my own. I don't want no stress, anxiety can't get no love from me. Becoming my higher self, steady gaining wealth, reaffirming my divinity. I will not worry, I will not let fear infect my legacy. In a competition with me, working diligently, embracing my TLC. I be my own success. Some believe that we're in competition, but I am only racing against myself. I be a champion with no trophy. I recognize my own championship wins. I be highly vibrational affirmations, affirming divinity of reflections of me. I be communication with clarification, because when you learn, you teach. But when you teach, you learn. I be ancestral connection through young vessel, divinely guided, divinely connected, divinely protected. I be abundance with no validation from society. All that I have is all that I need. All that I need, I already have. I be metamorphosis, breaking free from my mental chrysalis, now blossoming into my higher psyche. I'm living righteously, and we're shining brightly. And with all the things that I can be, well, I choose to be me. Ashe.
That's flames, my man. Can you, for the one person that's watching this video, give them a message, man, that will do whatever you wanted to do, whether you wanted to uplift them, whether you wanted to give them perspective, whether you want to help them connect. Give us or leave us with a message from the heart, man.
From the heart. I really had to tune into what I feel called to say. Because I don't know who's going to be watching this show. But I definitely feel like, please give yourself grace. I feel grace needs to be given because we've been doing so much. Like, we've been doing so much. I feel like when I say that give yourself grace, being patient, allowing things to flow, it comes with a certain level of surrendering. And the only way to accept being able to surrender is to be able to trust in uncertainty. So I do feel like sometimes when things happen, it sometimes may distort our perception of how life is treating us. You may look at things and be like, why is this happening to me? It's another thing after another thing. But I do feel as though that all is well, everything is happening in our highest good. And you really have to speak that to yourself, even in the times of when something that you're experiencing is trying to pull you down to a negative, spiraling, intrusive thought. Just know that you can choose to spiral upwards by just thinking that this is happening in my highest favor, this is happening in my highest good. And I had to apply that personally in so many attributes of my life, because there is light from the darkness. In order for something to cast a shadow, there has to be a light present. And if I keep being in the mindset that there is a light somewhere, I just have to be present enough to see it, be open enough to receiving it, know that abundance comes in unexpected ways. I don't need to be attached to the how it's going to happen. I can just be attached to the numerous possibilities of how it can happen. And that can affect my entire life, my trajectory of my purpose. So, yes, give yourself grace to just know that you are transitioning, you are changing, you are transforming, you are allowing yourself to grow in everything. You're giving yourself space to expand into who you're becoming, and that does not have to be affected by anybody else's presumptions of you. The only presumption or perception of you that matters is your own. So yeah, I feel like that's my message. Move by the message.
Oh, man,